So when Ken and Stephen asked me and John to reflect on what I've learned during the past 3 to 4 months since the pandemic took hold, I thought about that I am involved in reflective learning, as it's called. It's a big part of the work that I do. And reflective learning is all about asking 3 questions. What do I see? What have I been observing? What have I learned? So what? So what are you going to do with it? And now what? And so that's really the way that I've structured this, because it's that last question, that now what, that's really the toughie. So while the pandemic really hit home for us in February, when I look at what it has been to me, I have to put it in context. And that God has always blessed me with situations that challenge me to learn, that challenge me to deepen my relationship with Him, or to leave that relationship altogether. A reflection from a mirror or from a pool of water may not always show us something that we want to see, but it does show us what we need to see. We need to look at that mirror and consider the wrinkles, the warts, and hopefully the laugh lines. And the first thing I see is that the word challenge, that God challenges me, is in fact a first world context word. When I look at the challenges of other generations, of the Great Depression, when hunger was the norm, of the Spanish flu, in which there was no technology to connect people the way that we are today, of world wars, during which time people wouldn't see loved ones for years, or even know where they were because they were on battlefields, or in refugee camps or concentration camps. Those were challenges. And those are still the challenges for so many in our world today. Hunger, refugee camps, concentration camps, not knowing where loved ones are, or ability to be with them when they're sick and probably dying. So my what is, what, so what, now what? My what is not that I'm being challenged, but rather that I'm being enriched. Every time God has enriched me with family, health, work, personal, or financial issues, He is inviting me to build a kaleidoscope through which to see the world. Much different than the myopic eye in the middle of my forehead that I viewed the world in my youth. So what else am I seeing in this kaleidoscopic reflection? Well, that buildings in which we gather, learn, and worship are lovely, but our gathering, our learning, and our worship doesn't depend on those buildings. I've also seen the ugliness of the racism and classism built into our society, and my own narrow view of this. My own do-gooder view of this. I am blessed that my work, my faith, and my personal life have increasingly had profound intersections, and sometimes there are collisions at those intersections. Not such a bad thing. So long as no one's injured in the collision, it does force us to stop, or at least me to stop, get out of my car and look at the collision. And sometimes, for me anyway, looking at how I have contributed to that collision. And that can be really sobering. We never saw it coming most of the time, we might say that. Nothing like a pandemic or a documented evidence of systemic degradation of people to sober me up. Perhaps sober all of us up. There were signs everywhere, and we weren't paying attention. What other signs are there to which we are not paying attention now? My work involves the education and coaching of management in large university and public libraries. During the past number of years, that work has quite rightly demanded a very deep consideration of equity and ensuring that everyone is included. A very purposeful blending of races, genders, cultures, perspectives, orientations, lifestyles. Sometimes we don't even have the right words to describe what inclusion and equity really means. I thought I got it. I thought I knew. Nah, I didn't. I had to get the magnifying glass out. I had to really look in the mirror very deeply. So that's the what. So now you're saying, so what, Rebecca? Come on, get going here. John still has to talk, and there's coffee to be had. So what that you've seen this and experienced this? So my so what is that I thought I was being a good Christian. I'm out of the cold, I'm donating, I'm helping out where I can, I'm helping bring the services to our parish through Zoom, posting recordings for hopefully the rest of the world to see. I'm speaking about my faith even in situations where it's taboo and people sort of cross their eyes at me. The so what has been that that's not enough. I needed to learn that white privilege is not about financial privilege. I needed to learn that it's so ingrained in my thinking and in our practices, our policies, our procedures, if you like, our way of thinking, that it blurs what I needed to see. I needed to learn and feel what this means, and it means for my family, my community, my world, and our world, and what it will mean for our children and our grandchildren. I needed to learn what this pandemic really means on a daily basis for those that don't have the technology, for those that don't have the wherewithal to be apart from others. So what? Well, there's a bumper sticker that I need to have, not in my car, because I don't like bumper stickers on my car, but I should wear it on my forehead. And the bumper sticker says, slow down the speed at which you form an opinion about concepts and things you don't fully understand. That's my big bumper sticker. And the other bumper sticker that can go on the rear end, but I need to turn around and look at it, is where is the gospel of Jesus Christ in all this? Where is the gospel of Jesus Christ for me? So on to that last daunting question. Now what, Rebecca? Thanks for sharing, but really, what are you going to do with this? Back in March, Wycliffe's College chaplain, Annette Brownlee, posted a Christian response to COVID. It's really more of a Christian response to the realities of our society. And she says, the church quieted its voice in the public square years ago. And now is not the time for us to try to re-enter that public square in a loud way. But it is the right time to know God and to find our voice even among ourselves. My now what is to find my voice and to use it in ways that are acceptable to the Lord and to others. To empty the aspects of my mental capacity so that I can learn anew. You all know that I see technology as a connector and an enabler for worship and for building our faith and our community. Do we have further to go with that technology? Yep. Have we got a good start? Yep. God has been nudging, pushing, and inviting me to do more, to fully embrace his teachings and to use my love of teaching, coaching, and technology for years. I don't know what he wants me to do, but I do know I must be a part of that social justice that is not just about races. It is about having the digital capability that is integral to our gospel and to our society. We are to truly love one another. I must do that. I must live it. I must demonstrate it. So far, we are in the easy part of the pandemic. The economic and long-term impacts that are about to come may be as severe as those in 1918. And we know, because I studied history, that it wasn't pretty then. Once the reality started to set in, the sharing and the collaboration that we see now and that they saw then ended. So as a Christian, I must be a part of the long-term resilience building and fortitude. God's arms are wrapped around me, and they are wrapped around each of us to dive into the gospel, to live it, embrace it, demonstrate it, and bring it to life through the pandemic, through the aftermath, and the building of the societal equity that God expects us to nurture. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky.
Well, Becky, thank you so much for such an inspiring take on things. It's always a little bit dangerous to be the second speaker. My remarks, I think, are a little more mundane. When Stephen asked me or invited me to give some remarks this morning at the beginning of the week, I really wasn't sure what I had to say, what I could offer. But interestingly, over the course of the week, Ellen and I talked a lot about this. And so my remarks this morning really reflect both Eleanor and myself. We're really fortunate. As a couple, we haven't had to worry about work, homeschooling. Our lifestyle hasn't been really seriously upset. And we communicate with both of our families and our church family anytime we want. To be honest, interruptions are really just irritations for us. We're so blessed, and we are thankful. We really do miss our families. One son and his family are in Calgary, the others in Hilton Head, South Carolina. And while we talk with them regularly and our daughters-in-law and our grandchildren, the fact that we can't actually go and see them gives us angst. We're really saddened by the suffering and turmoil brought about by COVID. Things that we take for granted have changed or are no longer available. Safe care for the elderly, the freedom to move around as we please, unlimited, unfettered access to anything we want, worship, meetings, entertainment, shopping, travel, whatever. We marvel at how Holy Trinity has risen to the occasion, pardon the pun. Thank goodness for technology and those who made connecting possible for us. An unexpected surprise for me has been that our Zoom Bible class or study has doubled in size, with a full quarter of our members now not being members of this parish. And to all of you, you really are an amazing and faithful group. Thank you. We're really concerned about those who can't join on Zoom. Some don't have the technology. Some are overwhelmed by it. While we've reached out to some of them, the point is that we often forget, and they're out there alone. We really must forget them. Technology is going to be with us forever. They won't. We grieve the losses that others have experienced: life, health, income, stability. We've long learned and know that people can handle bad news. What we can't handle is uncertainty. And COVID swirls in a cloud of uncertainty and unpredictability. Will I be safe? When will it end? For once, we're no longer in charge. We're subject to factors beyond our own control. And for us, Eleanor and me, that's where our faith and our hope in the future keep us strong. It seems to us that the best that we can do is to be prudent and to continue living life as fully as possible. We try to remind ourselves that life may be very different for others. Becky spoke to that so well. Some are beset with worry. For others, long-term may be getting to the next weekend, either figuratively or literally. It's difficult for us to put ourselves in their shoes, but we try. The economic devastation is almost incalculable. Government expenditures are through the roof. Unemployment is just a statistic until we're one of the counted. We want to kind of ignore the costs that businesses, both large and small, are incurring. The time of economic recovery is going to be counted in generations, my friends. And through all of this, we see the full range of human behaviors, don't we? From caring concern to ugly confrontation, defiance. The goodwill of so many and the selfishness and arrogance of the few. Where are compassion and urgency when they're needed? why do we put up with it? There is hope, my friends. Every day we see countless examples of kindness. The goodness of the human heart is unlimited. So I say, be encouraged. We're not alone. We are in this together, and together with God's grace, we will endure and prevail. As Paul wrote to the Corinthians, no test or temptation that comes our way is beyond the course of what others have had to face. All we need to remember is that God will never let us down. God will never let us be pushed past our limit. God will always be there to help us through it all. That is hope, my friends. Confidence in the future. Thank you.